Thank you for having me. Can you hear me okay, everyone? Okay, so my talk has a very cryptic title, but I'll try to demystify what I'm going to talk about during the next 20 minutes. It should be pretty fast. I hardly ever do talks, so my plan for it was just to stack 60 pictures in a folder and just like explain what they are and things like that. Just for curiosity, like who here knows anything, like my name or anything I've been working on? Holy shit. Okay, well, then that's going to be really easy. I think I didn't want to make a talk about my work especially. I wanted to talk about the tools that I've created that allows me to make the things that I'm doing. And if you don't know what I'm doing, I'm going to go briefly over what I've been working on. So the three things I'm going to talk about is a language I created. So it will deal a bit about conlang and like creating languages a bit like what Tolkien did with Lord of the Rings. A time tracking system that I've created, that I've been using for years to keep track of what I've been doing and what I should be doing, and has like an aspect of it that is like foreseeing, that can like predict what I should be working on, and an idea of an encyclopedia that should contain everything that I know or that I should know. So let's get to it. This is my Twitter, if you've never seen it. I am currently based in Montreal. I've been working, when I say independent, I don't really do freelance work. I mostly do my own projects. I wake up in the morning, I have an idea, and I just get it done. I've been working on this concept of like making one thing every day for 5 years now. So it's like, it's a bit like every day is a game jam. Every day is like, every day is just making one small thing instead of making like these long extended projects that will last me for years. I rather do like many small things rather than like one big thing. And I've been doing that over the world. Right now, this is a picture when I was living in Tokyo. I just moved back to Montreal a few months ago. I've been working with my girlfriend Rekha, who's here somewhere. And what I like doing, and like my interests mostly are related to food and beer and things like this, and that's what brought me to Tokyo, if you were wondering. I also like cycling a lot, so cycling is my main, my main hobby. And cooking, I love cooking, and then microbreweries, craft beer, and games. So this is BlazBlue, if you know. So I'll show you some apps that I've created really quickly. So my interest in linguistics brought me to make games that will teach me languages. When I was living in Tokyo, I wanted to learn Japanese. So instead of going to school, which I hate, I decided to make myself apps that would teach me Japanese. So this is one of them. I made a lot of small experimental iOS games that were never really popularized or recognized, but that taught me about programming, that taught me about game design. There's one game that I released that became somewhat popular. It's called Iversar, and it's like a kind of like Myst point-and-click game. It was my first game, it was black and white, and by the time I released it, it got some momentum, and it got me interested in like meeting other people who were doing the same craft, so game design. Recently, I've been doing more utilities than games. While I like making games, I think what I like to do most is utilities. And as I will cover over my talk, it's like everything that I like doing and everything that is more important to me than playing is to make. So this is a drawing app that I made for myself so I could draw during commute. I'm also a bit interested in user interaction. So this is a keyboard that I've designed so I could use it. So everything that I'm presenting here is basically things that I've created for my own sake, so I could improve using these tools. For instance, just as a side note, I didn't want to use PowerPoint, so I made my own slideshow program. So so it tells me I have all these stats there that tells me how fast I'm doing, anyways. So this is an alarm that I made for myself to wake up when I take naps in the afternoon. I do a lot of time tracking apps, and that's one of them. That's one of them. That's a dating sim that I've made that I think Lei had a chance of trying. This is a language app that I made to learn, like right now I'm learning Russian, it's my fourth language, and I want to learn Cyrillic, and I made myself an app that would teach me Cyrillic, and like that same night I knew Cyrillic. Right now I'm learning Hebrew, so, well, I'm interested, casually interested in Hebrew, so I added Hebrew, and that's what that picture is. I also draw a lot, well, when I can. I like drawing, so these are my drawings. I like weird experimental procedural literature and things. There's more drawings. I love photography, so like all these things is what I'm trying to bring into my tools. So I made some toys and jewelry and world building stuff. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is a language I created, and that's probably a bit strange, but when I was maybe 16, 17, I was reading. Well, I knew Tolkien created his own language. I knew other people were like playing with, like, if you know Echo, like the writer, he wrote this book called The Search for a Perfect Language, and it talks about everyone who tried to go through like improving cognition by using these different kind of languages, and that's my interest in conlang much more than world building. You know, like how Tolkien would have done it by creating like elfic things. For me, it was more like if you know Lojban is like a language that is supposed to remove ambiguity from dialogue, and this is a tool created to do this one purpose, and that's what interested me when I was creating languages. So I created this thing that was imbuing all the things I liked and would, well, in my perspective, better the speaker. So I won't teach you how the language works. I just want to present you the ideas, so at least you can have, like, the point of my talk basically is to give you some ideas on things that inspired me. Like, I'm not saying that you should learn this language. What I'm saying is that you should try to make your own language, see how you're thinking and how it can be reflected into language. Because I think that's like a lot of, well, if you know Newspeak, like George Orwell's Newspeak, it's like, if you believe on this idea that you're limited by what you can think, then create language that will allow you to think further. And that's what I tried to do. So this language was inspired by a lot of like Borges talks and essays and shorts. And if you know who Borges is, you should nod, and if you don't, you should go read it. And because he's a wonderful short writer who does shorts, who often than not will deal with language in ways that is completely mind-blowing. And if you know the Library of Babel, or if you don't, like, this was one thing that inspired me as a kid, and I was like, this is something that I should explore. And I couldn't find a way to explore it in games, and language is something that was like a good medium, although it's not really a medium that like a conventional medium, but it worked. This is I did some research on other like conlangs and like procedural scripts, and this is Voynich. Like, it's just like I think it's like a cipher for something somebody made like a long time ago, and it's really beautiful. And I was like, oh, I'll make a program that just goes through the whole Voynich and like studies patterns in words, and just to see what I could do. And it's on, well, my research on it's online, so if you're interested in that kind of stuff. I used it a bit for world building, so like I do some music and also do some games and all these things, and I was like, oh, I want to create a universe that will have its own culture and its own grammar and these things. So I figured that the language, since it was already there, since I've made it, it was perfect for expressing some of these cultural ideas that I wanted to have throughout all my games. And this is some of the books that inspired me, some alchemic stuff, like one big thing that inspired for the language was something called Kybalion. It's an alchemic book about like a demake of reality by some alchemists maybe a long time ago, and I really liked the way that they were seeing things. As I said, I was pretty young when I started doing this, and when you're a kid and you can't make sense of what's around you, and you see a guy that's, well, some people that are just like, oh, reality is simple because it's just these three elements, and then you can mix and match them. And I was like, oh, this is cool. This works with how I wish I could make sense of things. And this is where I brought trauma, so the language that I created. So like, this is like I brought into illustrations, and I tried. It gave me ideas on like like I said before, it gave me better thinking tools, and this is one thing that's super important when you do when you create languages. As it created a culture inside my games and inside my music, I saw that people around me started using it to address me, and that was one thing that was interesting. There's some people in the audience here with whom I share this private chat room where we talk about game designs or music or cryptic things, and we all salute each other using that language. So just briefly, this is like the 27 axioms of the language. It's not, I don't want to teach you that, but at least I wanted to show you at least like how it's, well, some of the things, some of the research I've done that exists behind the language. So yeah, that was the language. Now I'm going to talk about another topic because I think I'm well, 34% too slow, so. All right, so my second thing is, I'm going to talk about like the way I schedule my time and well, my passion, I guess, for time tracking. So 5 years ago, I started something that I call a horaire. It's just like a diary thing. And my plan was to make something that if I use every day, it would know enough about me after a while that it could predict what I should be doing the next day. So like a bit like biorhythms. Like if you're aware of the concept of biorhythm, it's basically like, you know, based on season, based on like what you do or what you eat or stuff like that. You can see these curves that will tell you, oh, this day you'll feel happy, this day you won't feel so happy. And I was seeing these. I could tell that there were curves in my creativity. Some days I would have like really vivid ideas and for things I want to make, and some other days I would just not be inspired, and I figured it was just random and there was no pattern to it. It's just chaos. So I was like, okay, I'll just start this thing. Every day I'll make one line that describes what I'm doing, and I've been doing this without missing a single day for years now, and now it knows so much about me that it can predict what I'm doing. So this is some of my data from 2010, and we can see these pretty, well, sort of clear curves here. So like, and this is just for programming stuff. So most of my work is I divide it in like audio input and output, visual input and output, and programming language input and output. And if we just look at the black lines in this example, we can see that it makes like these bubbles here, like this, and I kind of like gives me an idea of like when it's going upward and when it's going downward. And I can plan my days based on that. Like I know that if I just burn myself through like music, I will have a hard time then, like keeping up this pace. If I see the curves going like downward for a while. It gives me a lot of incentive on like how much time I invested in projects. Like sometimes you lose track of how much time you've been working on something. I have projects that I've been keeping up with for a while now, even though like I said before, I only do like small bursts of projects. So I'll do like one task a day, and it's a very specific thing that I know that I can start and I can finish. Sometimes they are part of an overarching project that will last many years. For instance, one of my big projects that I will try to go over later if I have enough time is called Paradise. And this project involves all the aspects of the media that I use, and sometimes I'm so invested in the project that sometimes I just forget how much time I spend into it, and seeing it from my logs is just giving me like an idea sometimes that like, okay, I should take a break because this is costing me way too much time, and it's something that I see my mistake. I see like friends around me who do mistakes that if only they were logging or like taking notes of the time they invest in projects, they could like completely avoid. Yeah, I think. Oh yeah, this is interesting. So there's this, I forget whom, but it's a game designer who I was following for a while. On his blog, he would have like this. He had a jar with marbles in them, and then an empty jar next to it. And on the jar with the marbles in them, it would have 10 layers, and they would all be of different colors. And every week, he would take one marble and put it in the other jar. And that was on his desk. So like every day he would wake up and see how much time of his life is left and how much time is passed. And I was like, this is super cool, morbid thing that I want to try. So I started doing that. So like now every Monday I just like fill in a black square on my chart. it's just a reminder of like the time passing. Like sometimes you get so invested in something, it's just like time just slips out, and you forget that time is running out somewhere. So yeah, this is my small capsule on like time tracking, which I hope you should try it. Every time I have like a drunken discussion with someone in a bar, I try to push onto them this idea that they should track their time, because for me the time that I did not track is like I'm so sad of every day that I've not like kept track of the things I've been doing. There were days when I was a kid that I wish I knew like. Based on that, I would have been able. Right now, I know I have the skills for programming to almost predict what I could have become and this kind of stuff. And like you don't get that back. You don't get days back. So my last thing, really quickly, before I get kicked out, is one of my longest lasting projects, beside the language and beside my diary, is my website. And instead of making just a simple website or portfolio with about drawings and Twitter, like I was like, okay, I'm gonna make a website that knows everything about me, and the idea is similar to the diary thing. I was like, if it knows everything that I know, then it will be able to predict what I should know in the future, or even like when I die, I can use that as a kind of like the base of a bot that will keep on making what I would have been making if I wasn't dead. It's serious. So this is my encyclopedia. It's called the it's called the XXIVV. It's a weird wiki where I log everything that I know. And there's this short by Borges that is basically the story of somebody visiting a city, and then they go inside the city, and then the city is beautiful and it's empty, and somebody asks like, why isn't no one here? Like, what is this place? And someone says, oh, it's just the one-to-one map of the place that's over there. And I was like, oh, this is cool. Like, I want this. I want to make this. Like, even though I'm here and I'm this person, I'm gonna make this visitable, like this place where you can visit that knows everything about what I know. And I spent way too much time logging what I'm doing. And I've created this vocabulary of project. Like, if you know any of my apps, I'm sure you can't even pronounce how there's any of them is spelled. Like, ever since I came here to Amaze, every day I keep seeing people asking me like, how do you pronounce this game or this app? Because right now I've iterated so much on vocabulary that I'm running out of names that I can use. So this is like right now we've been exploring the narrative, the language aspect of it, and I have a little bit of time to cover one last thing that I think is interesting. It's one project that is not a framework like the other three things that I presented to you. It's more like it's closer to a game, and it's a text adventure thing. If you know Twine, well, imagine that when I looked at Twine, I was a bit disappointed by the tools, but I was inspired by what you can do with it. So I made a MMO game that uses the Twine mechanics, and I just put it out there. It's basically a kind of collaborative Twine tool where everyone can be anything they want and they create anything they like. And well, the first thing that I'll just go over a few things that happened in the world that I find are quite interesting on like what they mean. So like the first people who got a hold of this were 4chan. So well, before my site went down, there was an awful lot of awful things that were created in the game, but that taught me a lot about like what people, like the first instinct of gamers. And like that was years ago, that was like 5 years ago. Like I was already afraid of gamers back then. I was like, holy shit, people are crazy. So it's this very simple tool where people can create things, embody them, and move along the world that other people have created. So for instance, if when you start, you can't move in the world. You're just this force that exists inside the game. So if you create a cat, and then you can become the cat, and anyone who enters this room will see your cat, and they can become the cat as well. So it voids the concept of being someone in the world, and that got rid of a lot of trolls, because it's the sense of individuality in MMOs is very strong. But if I took that away, I realized that people were much more truer to the things they liked, and also less defensive or aggressive, because they were just representing an idea and not somebody. And one thing I really like above everything else is ideas. If you can just represent something rather than be someone, I think that is like for discussion and just for the sake of learning from one another, it's much stronger. So in this game, there's a small chat, but if you want to like interact with the chat, you need to be a cat, you need to be a thing, and you can change vessels, and there's no concept of like, I'm not a better person in the game than you, because in a split second you can just become my vessel and use my cat to communicate, and just like that you will carry all the things I've said as the vessel, and now this vessel will carry whatever you're saying. So this was a very strong like concept that I don't see so much explored in games. So maybe I figured if I present it today, maybe it will inspire a few people to toy with the idea that the self is pointless. So this is just an image of a map. Like the world has grown so much now. The game has been up for years, for 5 years or 4 years, and there's more than 100,000 vessels in the game created by players that you can just enter. For a while we had a lot of dicks and things like that, but now it's getting better. I think that's all for me. That's my desk with a shitload of junk on it. Thank you.
Okay, you can keep it. Just we have time. Can you just repeat the questions asked so people can hear?
I don't ask the questions.
No, they ask the questions. You answer.
Okay, you ask do you have any question? Can you say that again?
You just said like identity or something is kind of a weird concept for you, like giving that up.
Are you asking me if I want to be someone?
Yeah, if you have an idea of yourself, what you want to be, that you would like moment, or instead of having like something.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so I was just asked if there's an ideal that I'm going after, right? And related to the concept of identity. Well, not so much. Like I see what I'm doing or what everyone is doing as a process, and I don't feel like I'm in control of that process. Like the encyclopedia thing or anything I'm doing that is able to predict what I should be doing is this kind of like it's more a sense of flow that you can't really act against. So I'm not really aspiring to become like this one specific idea, but I'm trying to just increment on the things that I find are that I can relate to, and I think like what I'm aspiring to be is like this culmination of the things that I've been doing. It's really complicated. Maybe if you pay me a drink later, we can. I'd like that. Go ahead. Oh. Okay, well, Can I take 5 minutes to start this? Yeah, I can take. Okay, so, but like I often have exchanges with people who have a very different definition of completion than me. Like I think my system works really well. My system works really well for people that think like me. What I noticed is that if I inspire people to build a system like this, it will not always work. I can't really explain why, but it seems to be related to the way that people see completion. I can explain this later, but I'm trying to. The way I see it. So, hey, it's a tough question. Fuck. I don't know. I'll get back to that. But it's really important because I saw so many times. Well, I mean, when I started doing this, and I noticed that it was sort of working. Like it didn't explicitly work like I was planning. Like I planned it to do. Like my first tests were basically like this. I was like, okay, so every day I'm going to log the things, and I was not really planning on expanding it into predicting what I should be doing. So it was just this innocent journal thing where I was just logging the things I was doing. When I started using it to predict what I would be doing, then that paradigm shifted a little bit. And what I noticed for me that worked, and I noticed that for others it didn't work, is that you have two choices when the program tells you what you should be doing. So on one hand, any day I could decide I won't be doing it, and the system will learn that I didn't do it, and maybe it worked, and then the system will learn that it worked, so it will have a different way of looking at it next time. But then if I start doing everything that it tells me all the time, sometimes I forget that I have days where I don't want to draw, or I don't want to do this thing, and I'll go against the system and I'll do it. But if I don't, then for a while that became really bad for me. I fell into this loop of just listening to what the system was saying, and even though I felt like doing something else, I was like, but statistically I shouldn't. So fuck, I'll just keep following the system, and that brought me to a very bad place. I kind of stopped exploring, and right now I'm at a point where if I want to bring the system forward, I need to find ways of how I can predict learning as well. I have these discussions with a friend of mine. We're trying to find a way of making a bot that knows that can learn from like a Twitter bot that knows what looks good against what looks bad against what it thought it looked good before. So increasingly more knowledgeable about art, something like that. This idea that I can't really I can't do it programmatically. I'm sure a lot of people can't. It's just this, how can you bring, how do you make a predictable system that will just not only repeats what you've been doing, but also brings you forward? That was interest. That's where I'm at now, and that's what interesting me. I don't have a solution for that, but what I can tell you is if your idea of completion is similar to mine, from what the things you've been seeing, then a system like this would work well for you.